Justin Trudeau is on his way out. What caused Canada's poster boy to crash and burn? And what happens now? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Justin Trudeau just announced that he will be stepping down as Prime Minister of Canada. This comes on the heels of a meeting by the Ontario Liberal caucus telling the Prime Minister to resign. Chrystia Freeland, Trudeau's former finance and deputy prime minister, was also in attendance. Her resignation in December was one of the last nails in the coffin for Trudeau's struggling government. It came as a result of a bitter dispute over how to handle President-elect Trump's threats to impose a devastating 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Geez, Trump's not even president yet and he's already taking scalps. If I were Kim Jong-un, I'd be booking a ticket to Mar-a-Lago so I could soothe Trump's bloodlust with a karaoke rendition of the YMCA song. But back to Justin Trudeau. Things have not been good for Trudeau and his Liberal Party for a long time. When Trudeau first swept into office, his approval rating stood at a remarkable 63%, with nearly 2/3 of Canadians supporting him. Today, that number has cratered to 26%. So what on earth happened? Why did Canadians turn on Trudeau? I thought the guy was supposed to be the young, charismatic hunk who made other leaders look like dripping sacks of wet burlap. Well, to quote a wise man, it's the economy, stupid. Okay, maybe it's not just the economy. It's the economy, immigration, a failing healthcare system, crime, and an increasingly authoritarian state that can destroy your livelihood and crush you like the pathetic insect you are. Stupid. But since I brought it up first, let's look at the economy. Much of Canada's financial woes stem from the housing market. Canada now ranks as one of the most expensive housing markets in the world. Average home prices in some of Canada's major cities, like Vancouver and Toronto, total over $1 million. And the rest of Canada isn't much better. Entire generations have seemingly been locked out of ever buying a home, with the rate of home ownership among 18 to 34-year-olds dropping to a meager 1 in 4, meaning almost 75% of young Canadians are stuck paying rent or living with their parents, rather than building equity in a home they own. But for those who did manage to buy a home, things might be worse. Housing prices, combined with inflation, have led to an explosion in household debt, $2.5 trillion. This has a knock-on effect. As people spend more money paying off credit cards and high-interest loans, they have less money to spend on other things. This rips another huge chunk out of the economy. Businesses close for lack of customers, and growth slows to a crawl. Some of Canada's jaw-dropping home prices can be blamed on overregulation and zoning laws. The Royal Bank of Canada, meanwhile, cites skyrocketing costs in labor and materials. And pouring gasoline on this raging dumpster fire is our old friend China. China has gotten so bad that wealthy Chinese elites are looking to get out and park their assets somewhere the Chinese regime can't reach, like Canada. Realtor signs written in Mandarin have popped up all across the country. And in Vancouver, Canada's most expensive city, Chinese investors make up 1/3 of the entire real estate market. But it's not just rich Chinese people who are competing with Canadians. Let's discuss the moose in the room: immigration. Since Trudeau came to power in 2015, Canada has taken in a huge number of immigrants from China and many other countries. They've seen massive spikes over the last 4 years. It's supply and demand. More people need houses, not enough houses get built, and all of a sudden, you're living out of a dumpster behind the Tim Hortons. Though I will say Tim Hortons' crispy chicken stack makes it almost worth it. But the housing market isn't the only thing buckling under the weight of all these new people. Jobs have been hit too. Youth unemployment has skyrocketed as all the new arrivals compete with young workers for entry-level jobs. Though it's worth noting that about 1 in 8 of these recent immigrants is unemployed, double that of the native population. Too many people, not enough resources to go around. This crisis has gone system-wide, and it's come for the one institution Canadians love more than the red-green show, stubby beer bottles, or pummeling your neighbor for wearing a Leafs jersey: the Canadian healthcare system. Issues with funding and a shortage of doctors have only gotten worse as Canada struggles to cope with the recent influx of new people. Your average Canadian can find themselves waiting 6 months to see a family doctor. So you've got no money, nowhere to live, and you can't see a doctor. But don't worry, Canada has you covered. You can just, stop being alive. Medical euthanasia now accounts for 1 in 20 Canadians who went up to that great big hockey rink in the sky. And it's not just the terminally ill goners getting the MAID treatment. Oh, no, no, no. A woman in Nova Scotia was offered it twice while undergoing surgery for breast cancer. And another woman in her 50s with a history of depression was granted her request after a failure to find housing. So if you're ever in Quebec, whatever you do, don't ask to see a French maid. Needless to say, life under the Trudeau government is rough. And if the doctors and half-eaten crispy chicken stacks don't get you, a criminal just might. Violent crime has surged, even beating out the U.S. Same goes for property crime. To which I can only ask, how is that possible? What's wrong with you, Canada? You have to be actively trying to make yourselves worse than us. You were supposed to be America's conscience. I don't even know who you are anymore. So if Trudeau's government hasn't been hunting violent criminals, what have the bounties been doing? What's Dudley Do-Right up to these days? Well, policing dissent for one. In 2022, Canadian truckers took to the streets in order to protest COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates. Scores of vehicles and protesters blocked streets and critical infrastructure, grinding traffic to a halt and holding up billions of dollars worth of goods. And Trudeau's response? Did he negotiate with the protesters, as one might suspect a high-minded Liberal to do? No, he declared a national emergency, unleashed the cops, froze protesters' bank accounts, and threatened to arrest anyone who helped them. Then, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland said this was all to defend our democracy. Man, how many times am I going to have to hear that one? So now that Trudeau has announced his resignation, what happens to Canada? Well, Trudeau will actually stay in office for a while. Yep. Trudeau said today that he intends to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide competitive process. In other words, it could take a while. Unless Canada's Liberals take a cue from the DNC's robust, nationwide competitive process and just anoint someone they think they can control. And whoever the Liberals select could be in power for a while. Canadian law doesn't require the government to hold an election just because the Prime Minister steps down. The next federal election will be in October this year. But it's possible an early election could be called if the opposition parties can scrape together a vote of no confidence. Currently, odds are the Conservative Party will take back control of the Prime Ministership. But considering all of Canada's deep, systemic problems we've just talked about, who even wants the job? And while this could be the end of Trudeau's political career in Canada, he may still have a bright future ahead of him as the governor of America's 51st state. So what do you think? What should Canada's future be? What can be done to turn around their country? And could America really be getting another star on its flag? Leave your comments below. And check out our new premium website at americauncovered.tv. There's a lot of great exclusive stuff you can only see on the website, and you'll be helping me continue to get the truth out about all the most important breaking news. Episodes like this wouldn't be possible without your support. More info is in the description below, so head over to americauncovered.tv and become one of our first premium subscribers. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.